What is personal data? Any information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person. And what is processing personal data? Any operation or set of operations which is performed on personal data or on sets of personal data, whether or not by automated means. Personal data lifecycle is like this: collection, storage, use, transfer, retention, and destruction. Defendocs software is developed to ensure that you begin to comply with all the GDPR requirements of each EU country as quickly as possible with minimum costs for organizing this work. Our mission is to solve all your problems covering the GDPR process, stay compliant, and cut costs with Defendocs' flexible and easy-to-use tools and software. We provide fully accomplished GDPR checklists that help you secure your organization, protect your customers' data, and avoid costly fines from regulators. Now let's see a demonstration of the standard user interface. There it's possible to work in one or more organizations, invite other users, and use all features of the system. The first step is creating one or more organizations for which you, as DPO, Data Protection Officer, will ensure personal data protection and fulfill GDPR requirements. It is easy to create a new organization. For this purpose, it is necessary to specify the organization's starting points, address, line, city, zip, postal code, plus the industry your organization works in. Start with filling in the first organization. Here you can see a summary of it. Its details, all of them are editable. Within each organization, there is a set of users that can be managed. You are the administrator and DPO of this organization. It's possible to add a colleague, create an individual role for him, and a group that you can call My Colleagues. You can provide them the necessary authority. For example, create a special role, invite the first user with such email, and accept him as a guest user. After that, the user who has registered himself becomes confirmed and invites you to your organization. Your role is still the owner, with the ability to manage the roles and powers of other users. The first functional module that we will look at is the Assessment Management module, which is designed to assess how well your organization meets the GDPR requirements, the extent to which it fulfills the GDPR requirements when processing and protecting personal data. Here, you can create a new evaluation, start the procedure of this assessment, and if you do this for the first time, you have to go through it completely to get results. In this case, one appraisal has already been done earlier, and you have the choice to complete the evaluation from scratch, where all the answers have to be re-entered, or you can use a template of the last assessment considered, relevant and corrected with one or two questions if necessary. For example, as now, you can go to the first section and change the characteristic of the fact that you had less than 250 people and become more, save it. And then two additional questions will appear that relate to the recording of processing activity, processing log, which become mandatory under such conditions. When you leave the edit, you can see the assessment is not yet complete. You can easily switch to it and fill it at any time. Important: evaluation can take a long time. Questionnaires include a large number of important questions that require qualified answers. Information comes from different sources and at different times, so the user may contact third parties for some answers. We suggest focusing on the results of the assessment that has already been performed. In this case, the GDPR compliance rate is 66%. Let's go through the results. Their overall result is 66%, and here we see a set of recommendations, the implementation of which should lead to maximum compliance with the GDPR. The functionality of this block allows you to see the recommendations for different sections. In other words, how can you fulfill the requirements of the article and with what documents? In the main section, we see progress on the other sections. It is important to go to the list of documents recommended for preparation. Depending on the priority of the document and procedure, each document has characteristics of how many recommendations it will cover, so you can choose a higher priority for yourself. For example, a procedure for monitoring safeguards. You can also go to the statistics on the articles of the GDPR, refer to the original sources and see which specific requirements are met, and also see the documents to be done. In this sections, you can look at the answers given in the assessment questionnaire. No responses led to recommendations. After you have completed the GDPR procedures, about a month or several months afterwards of operation, you can reassess based on the previous result and adjust the responses. Highlight the achievements that have been made and in the process get closer to 100%. In fact, it is a very long procedure. Some items are easy to implement and cover a large volume of GDPR compliance. Some are very time-consuming and expensive, and they cover only one article, for example. Therefore, DPO should select and prioritize tasks and procedures based on its capabilities and the need to match the work. The module, My Documents, is required for preparing documents. Here you enter information and receive a set of documents. For the first time, you need to receive a complete set of documents, so step by step, go through all the sections in which you need to enter information. There is another way. To define the primary documents, for example, the policy of recommendations, and to prepare it. Now it is in the incomplete status. There is not enough information for its preparation. It is impossible to download it. Additional information is available: document type, full title, type of use for organizations that act as controllers or processors. What task does the GDPR cover? What sections with information you need to fill out, as well as help on document. Using a special red flag, you can mark this document as the one that you want to prepare right now. This can be done both in one document and in several. Then go to the information section and fill in the information that is also marked with checkboxes. For the document, you must indicate the name of the organization, the details of this person responsible for signing the documents, and the name of the country's main law on the protection of personal data. By entering this information, you may not complete all other fields. When filling out the main document, similar fields are filled in parallel in other documents. If you save data in this particular document, similar data in other linked documents is updated at the same time. By clicking the Save button, you can go to other menu items, and the linked documents will be saved quickly and unnoticed by you. Now you can download the prepared document. Here, you can notice that the missing element in the form of the name of the local law has been entered in the correct field, as well as the data of the signatory and other options depending on the specified parameters. There are functions that depend on your desire, for example, whether you want to include supervisory recommendations. Thus, one document is prepared and loaded. If you change the information required to prepare it, it will again receive the new status. You can also select several documents and download the archive in which they will be included. Operations Center allows you to conduct regular activities, which include keeping a personal data processing log, record of processing activities, which in some cases, for example, if there are more than 250 people in the organization, is mandatory. If it's not necessary, the organization can run it at will. Operations Center allows to run several workflows simultaneously, in which there is a possibility to fill the data step by step. For your convenience, the module is split into sections so as not to overload your screen visually. Each section has basic information: a role in this processing, what data is processed, how it is processed, whether it is transferred to third parties, cross-border transmission, and security measures. One entry has already been entered here. You can easily navigate quickly through the tabs. You can view all fields on one screen and edit records. Plus, please note that here the data is entered as a company that processes personal data. There is a purpose, a legal basis, contract with a person, information about the person from whom we receive data, and method of data processing. This is how processing recording works. Alternatively, you can export the form to Excel, which creates a separate table, row, for each category of personal data. This is done for the convenience of working in the interface. Excel has the ability to enable filters find only the name in different processes, a specific process, etc. In the Operations Center module, you can regularly check how certain personal data protection procedures are being followed. Here you can see that control of 2 procedures has now been implemented. That is, control of compliance with the GDPR principles and control of the implementation of protective measures. Outwardly, these are the same functions, and now I want to take a look at one of them. You add a new questionnaire and answer 40 questions, in each of which you must answer yes, no, or not applicable. They also contain links to articles of the GDPR. If you answer no or not applicable, you need to comment on why you did not comply with this requirement of the internal instructions, which are accepted in the documentation. If you answered yes, this is not necessary. You can also review your responses in the completed form and upload them to Excel for storage on your computer or print them on paper. Go to the department that does not meet the requirements, and based on this, check Submit a request for what reason they were unable to comply with these requirements. The procedure must be carried out regularly. There is a document in the Documents module called the Compliance Policy. Control documents and instructions should be written and provided in procedures, for example, at intervals at once a quarter. The Data Subject Request module is designed to ensure compliance with the GDPR requirements relating various interactions with data subjects who may contact us, supervisory authorities, and our partners in the processing of personal data. The highest risks of fines for an organization are associated with non-compliance, with the requirements to respond to requests from subjects, and not with respect to the rights of subjects set out in the GDPR. It is necessary to answer within 1 month. Sometimes under certain conditions, it is possible to extend the period of up to 2 months. But, nevertheless, the answer is mandatory even if the subject had no basis for the claim. You can add records and provide information about the request itself, about the person, how to register the request, the date of receipt of the request, its type, what kind of rights the person applied to us. There is a recording here that you can watch. This is a record for obtaining the right to access personal data, an email request, and now it needs to be answered. The status in process has now been set up. You must process this request, prepare a data set for processing, and prepare a response letter. Then I will record how you changed the status and added the necessary information about the data that was provided to the subject and in what time frame. Using the Data Subject Request module, you can prepare a template to respond to a specific person's request. To do this, fill out the questionnaire, response template, enter the information, and download the template. This information is not stored anywhere. It is only necessary to prepare this copy of the answer. Fill out, then download the template and receive an email. You, as a DPO, send this email and then return to the reply pod. Then you notice that it is already in the completed status. The response has been sent. This work is very important. The main goal of working with responses to requests from subjects is to show the implementation of measures to respect the rights of subjects. Violation of these articles of the GDPR is the most severe punishment of the supervisory authorities. The module makes it possible to send a notification to the subject. Register these notifications when the initiative should write a letter to it, not a response to a request, but send the letter itself. This is the case when a person's personal data is processed and taken from a third party, and the person does not know about it. It is your responsibility as DPO to subject in certain situations. The fields to be completed will be highlighted. The module allows you to keep logs of processors, that is, organizations that your organization hires to process personal data, and trust them with processing. This is necessary to manage legal agreements on the processing of personal data in accordance with the requirements of the GDPR, to record the recipients of data sending. In all of these logs, you can control the information that is displayed on the screen. For example, deleting contact information that is not needed for the preview. Section: Controller Data Entry. You add one record about the counterparty who hired you to process personal data, if any. It stores contact information, in this case, the management and the DPO of the company, if appointed, start and end dates of the contract to end it in time. The essence of this work is to help the DPO keep the personal data flow scheme up to date and initiate the renewal of agreements in time. All these logs can be downloaded. The module contains: Number 1. User guide for notifying supervisors of DPO appointment. This can be done by mail or through the form on the website. Here is an example of how it was done in Spain, and recommendations on how to do it for any other country. Number 2. Notification of the supervisory authority about the leakage of personal data. Here is a questionnaire that you should fill out and send by letter to the supervisory authority. If an organization has identified violations of the protection of personal data, not only leakage, but also inaccessibility, violation of the rights of the subject, violation of the principles of processing personal data, it is necessary to notify the supervisory authority within 72 hours by filling out the form and sending this letter. The letter cannot be sent directly from Defendocs because each oversight body has its receiving mode. The general order is to send via email. Defendocs allows you to reduce time and effort spent on organizing work on GDPR compliance, eliminate the risk of fines from compliance monitoring authorities for GDPR breaches, train staff on site how to handle data, minimize software and integration costs.